Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I stand before you today as the only Jewish member of the Kentucky House of Representatives. It is not unusual for a Jew to stand alone. Our forefather Abraham stood alone amidst a world full of idol worshippers. Then he discovered the one God of Israel. Moses stood alone in front of the mighty Pharaoh. Then he took God's children out of Egypt. David stood alone before Goliath, then slew him with a rock. And during the Holocaust, too, we stood alone. Throughout history, man's inhumanity to man has left us with no shortage of massacres or genocides. Still, the Holocaust, too, stands alone. It stands alone not only in its magnitude, but also in its lack of any political, economic, or religious motivation. It was not a means to any end. There was no gain. It was extermination for extermination's sake, an attempt to wipe the earth of an entire race of people without mercy and without exception. And it happened at the hands of what was one of the most developed nations in the world, steered by its brightest and most educated citizens. Unlike the claims of today's revisionists, we Jews were targeted not because of our religion or ethnicity, but because of our race. There was no way for us to change our blood any more than it is possible for someone to change the color of their skin. There were no confessions of faith, no political declarations, no renunciations of culture. Nothing could be said or done for us to avoid the gas chambers. 90 years ago, in January 1933, Hitler first came to power. His evil schemes did not happen overnight or in a vacuum. It took good men to be silent in the face of evil, to be passive as hatred took hold around them, and apathetic as their neighbors were swept away by the tides of fascism. Today, the danger to us has reached levels we have not seen at any point since the Holocaust, a reported tripling of anti-Semitic hate crimes in the United States since 2015. Yet, those who would deny the Holocaust are those who would welcome another one. We cannot afford to remain silent, passive, and apathetic. Whether it's a violent assault on a Jew or Jewish institution, exploiting anti-Semitic tropes for political gain, a crude joke, historical revisionism, or downplaying the severity of anti-Semitism, we must all ensure that it is not tolerated. For nearly 2,000 years, we were a homeless and stateless people, suffering one persecution after another, yet we survived, and we grew. Before the Holocaust, the Jewish population stood at 18 million. Afterward, 11 million were left to heal and rebuild our nation. Over the last 77 years, our population has yet to recover. Another 3 million are still missing. It will not be until 2050, over 100 years later, that our numbers are restored. While the younger generations slowly repopulate, the survivors are leaving us. Today, only 300,000 are left worldwide, and 90% are 80 years or older. Unsurprisingly, Holocaust revisionists and deniers are using this to spread their poisonous ideology. This is why it is incumbent upon us to tell their stories and to keep their memories alive. We as Jews are not afraid. Soon it will be Passover, where we proclaim, as did our fathers before us and their fathers before them, the eternal words of the Haggadah. In every generation our enemies rise up to destroy us, but the Holy One, blessed be He, delivers us from their hands. We might be few in number, but thankfully we know, as Rabbi Sheir Zalman stated, a little bit of light dispels a lot of darkness. Am Yisrael Chai, the Jewish people lives. I yield back my time to the gentleman from Christian Aid.